The January transfer window is open and Newcastle United are expected to do some big business. It's kind of demanded from the fans. We may see some outgoings, which, let's be real, we don't really expect any players to leave the door. And some people do want Miggy out the door. They do want Callum Wilson out the door. But let's be realistic. Or can we afford to sell these players midway through a season? And that's one thing we will get onto later with Miggy and Callum Wilson. But we're also expecting many incomings, players that's going to come to Newcastle. So many have been sort of fond of, like Calvin Phillips and many more, Ramsdale. But we've got some big transfer news today as we've lost one of our targets. Two players which have a bad situation at their club right now, and both clubs are willing to sell players in this winter, the January transfer window. We could exploit and are both very top players, both right wingers as well. There's so much more, like Dan Ashworth maybe going to Manchester United. Without further ado, people, let's get into every single bit of the news. Right then, lads and lasses, how we doing, and welcome back to the channel. Like I've just mentioned, we've got a lot of news for Newcastle today, and we'll start off straight away. Why not? We'll get into it. In a month where Newcastle do need to bring in players, I mean, let's be real, look, if we sort of had it our way, we would get a 6, we would get a right wing, we would get a third striker for cover, because Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson are two fantastic strikers. Both have so much cool, have so much class, are absolutely superb at finishing, the both of them, but they can't really seem to stay fit, can they? Alexander Isak can stay fit a bit longer, but he just looks so fatigued at the minute, and Callum Wilson, as we all know, missed Liverpool's game and is out for the next 2 games against Sunderland and Manchester City. He's becoming a liability at this point. We'll get onto him later. But like I said, if we would have it our way, we'd get a CDM, we'd get a defensive midfielder, we'd get a right wing, we'd get a striker, we'd get a goalkeeper maybe. But look, without further ado, it can't be our way. So let's get into the transfer news, what we've been handed today. First of all, Marcus Leonardo, the young, promising Brazilian attacker. We've been linked with him many times. I think he was linked with Crystal Palace or something like that, but he has moved today. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that he's went to Benfica. It's not the biggest loss. I mean, we're always linked with these sort of Brazilian youngsters, and it never comes to nothing. So this is another example of that. We'll not fret over it, but yes, Marcus Leonardo, the once Newcastle United transfer target, has moved to Benfica. Not really the end of the world, is it? Anyways, next up is Donyell Malen. And he's got a situation at the club like Jota from Al Ittihad, who was a former Celtic man, fantastic player. It's kind of the same as this, but we'll get on to Donyell Malen first. And I am sort of bringing this up for a reason, you'll see in a second. Donyell Malen, confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, could leave Borussia Dortmund this winter or in the summer. January remains a concrete possibility. This, I don't know why it is. I think it's because it says Marlon decided to go with a new agency or something like that. I don't know why that would be a problem. And also, Sancho is joining Borussia Dortmund, or maybe very likely to join Borussia Dortmund. Donyell Malen can play as a striker, right wing. I think he's played on the left as well. I don't know if it's too fond of a position for him, but the reason I'm saying this, not many clubs like to do business in January, do they? They don't want to disrupt the squad halfway through the season for letting players go out. Donyell Malen, we need a right winger right now. When a club is willing to let go of a right winger, he absolutely tore us apart at St James's Park in the Champions League. If you don't remember when we played Borussia Dortmund at home, he absolutely tore us apart. He tore Dan Burn apart. Absolutely, honestly, he was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was step over after step over, beating Dan Burn every single time. That could be our right wing transfer target there. And when they want to let Jadon Sancho come in, they could make a little cut deal price from, you know, they want Donyell Malen gone in January. He is a good player. He's not absolutely fantastic, but he is a good player. He's very technical, very pacey as well. We could exploit that situation. And talking of exploiting situations, we've got another one. Like I said, Al Ittihad's man, Jota. I was going to say Diogo Jota. Don't give us memories of him against Liverpool. But yes, Jota, this is given to us by Fraser Fletcher. Portuguese winger Jota from Al Ittihad has been approached by multiple top clubs, and Al Ittihad are willing to let him go. Yet again, it's when a club are willing to let a player go in January, it does kind of seem that they're not favouring him. He's not sort of exactly priced. I mean, letting a player go halfway through the season, it does leave it a little bit unbalanced. He has fell out of favour, Al Ittihad. As we all know, he got a big money move there from Celtic, where he impressed heavily. But they are willing to let him go through midway through January, and he's a very good player. Yet again, he can play on the right-hand side as he can play on the left. He's a versatile player. Eddie Howe loves his versatile players, just like Donyell Malen. So Jota, we could get him for a cut price, and when we say cut price, but of course we are affiliated with Al Ittihad, which it may not be everyone's favourite for us to do this. It may not make every opposition fan happy, but we could get him for next to nothing because, yet again, we are affiliated with this club. It goes under our sort of business deals. We can put our own figures in. Yet again, it might not make any other sort of opposition club, but like Eddie Howe said, we're not here to be popular. We're here to compete. We're winning this league for ourselves. We're competing for ourselves. We're competing for Europe for ourselves. We're not here to make anyone happy, to make ourselves unhappy, if you know what I mean. Next up, Dan Ashworth. Now, we've been sort of It's been linked that he may go to Manchester United, where he would be in favour, where he would be in complete control of the club, where in Newcastle, Eddie Howe, he is the main man, he's the manager, he's the top manager, he's the top coach, he's the top sort of transfer specialist. Well, not transfer specialist, but you know what I mean. He gets in every player how he wants them, if they can work in his style. Dan Ashworth may feel a little bit like, well, look, I'm the sort of big dog here. I'll get in who I want. Eddie, I don't know what you're doing. He could go to Manchester United. Of course, he will probably get a wage boost there. And it is a bigger club in that sort of sense. He's going to have the money to do what he wants and build what he wants. Now, first of all, I've seen many fans say it's not that big of a deal. I don't actually know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know the full depths and details. Of course, I know the importance of Dan Ashworth and what he does, brings the players in, scouts, all that. But I don't understand the complete importance of Dan Ashworth. We can go out and get somebody else. Brighton have done absolutely fantastic without him. They did do some very good scouting business, by the way. But the likes of Botman, Isak and Bruno, I'm sure they were Nixon signings, Steve Nixon signings, not Dan Ashworth. But on the actual topic itself, Craig Hope said, in a reply to a question about Dan Ashworth to go to Manchester United, he wouldn't be, Craig Hope, wouldn't be surprised to see him go, also saying there's every chance he'd had more control at Manchester United, like I just mentioned. It may happen. Look, yet again, it's not going to be the end of the world. I can guarantee Newcastle United can have the pulling power when it's not a sort of player from someone in the backroom staff. We could get absolutely anyone in the world if we wanted to, with the right money, with the right wages, with the right infrastructure as well. Now, on to Calvin Phillips, which is probably the biggest one of the episodes so far. It may be the biggest sort of reliable news that we have got. Manchester City were asking for £7.5 million for half a season for the service of Calvin Phillips. Look, we need a six, right? And they're going to take advantage of that. It's a bit scandalous, but it's smart from Manchester City, even though he's their fourth cover centre defensive midfielder. Not midfielder, centre defensive midfielder. He's not in favour there whatsoever. And Manchester City are completely taking our situation for a grand for them. They are now wanting not the £7.5 million loan deal. This is reported by TalkSport. Manchester City are now wanting £5 million for 6 months, which is still extortionate. That's just about nearly £1 million every single month for the rest of the season. And are now wanting an obligation to buy. So Newcastle United are now needing to put in an obligation to buy from Manchester City. Now, this obviously shows that Manchester City do want him off the books. It hasn't worked there. He's fell out of favour. That's probably not happened in the sort of style that Pep Guardiola wanted him to stay at Manchester City. Now, look, it's a bit greedy from Man City. They're putting the player in a bad position. Look, if you want to get him out the door, they're making sure Newcastle can fully get him. Obviously, a loan with obligation to buy if you somehow don't know what that means. It means that Newcastle legally, if you meet certain criteria, like the Lewis Hall deal this season, he has to sign for Newcastle United legally. If we want him or not, there is a whole situation with Lewis Hall there. But look, Calvin Phillips, if we need to get him in, which we do need to get him in, we do need a centre defensive midfielder. He's not the best player in the world. He's not going to drastically change, but we do need a six, and it allows Bruno to express himself in the forward field area. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and pay it, in my opinion. It is harsh. Manchester City are taking our kindness for a weakness, or our situation for a weakness, but it's the tough world of football, and we're just going to have to get it done. Now, swiftly moving on. Do we need to sign a goalkeeper? And Eddie Howe has kind of sort of pushed that away. He's used Martin Dubravka's Anfield performance as a sort of sign to push that away. This is Eddie Howe on Martin Dubravka. On Martin Dubravka, of course. He's a top goalkeeper and an outstanding player. He had a good performance. I wouldn't say he's an outstanding player. I mean, he's conceded. How many goals has he conceded? He conceded 7 in 2-3 games at one point, was it? That was shocking. And he showed at Liverpool what a good goalkeeper he was. Fantastic performance that was, as we all know. Those saves were at the highest level. They were. Penalty was a big moment. He distributes the ball well, and we are very pleased with him. It'll do the world of good. Of course, he's on about the performance at Anfield. I mean, if there's one game from a step up and show his worth, it may be against a championship team, but Christ almighty, it's got to be against Sunderland. And the match preview for that will be out tomorrow. But he's got to prove himself against Sunderland. And Martin Dubravka, for me, I trust Dubravka. He's a fantastic shot stopper, like we've seen in the past before Nick Pope. He's a fantastic shot stopper. His reflexes are very great. And his distribution, it's not the best, but it is better than Nick Pope's. Every time there's sort of a big moment where Dubravka has to step up and we can't lose the bottle, he just seems to lose his bottle and sort of fall under the pressure. I mean, we've seen it in Everton in the last dying seconds at Goodison Park for Alex Iwobi goal, and it's happened a few more times. I don't know why. I've been having, ever since the draw's made, bad visions of Dubravka conceding against Sunderland, and it's just all going to go wrong. I hope it doesn't happen. God forbid it doesn't. But look, I do trust Dubravka. But do we need a new goalkeeper in January? You let me know. Now, one last bit of transfer news, and then we'll get on to the topic of selling Callum Wilson. this news, this sort of source I've never heard of before, so take it with a pinch of salt. I normally don't like speaking about people with not good sources about the sort of news, but we might as well get it out there. So yet again, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't get overexcited. This is by Jack Talbot. Never heard of them before, but many people are speculating about it now. It's got over 10,000 views. Newcastle may look to revisit some of their summer transfer targets in January, with Ben Godfrey and Cyrenzio Somerville of Leeds in consideration. Now, yet again, we're not even going to talk about that, but I thought I'd just let you know because it's not a great source whatsoever. Might as well let it roll off the tongue. Now, finally, Callum Wilson. Should we sell him this January? Now, I believe yes for many reasons, but I'm also a little bit sympathetic, which is my personal downfall to every single player. But Callum Wilson now, let's just take a look at this stat because this is terrible. Ever since Callum Wilson has signed for Newcastle United, let's just get it up, he has now missed 69 games through injury. It's inexplainable how bad that is. No, it's not his own fault. He can't really change it. It's in his body, but that is the harsh reality of football. If you've got that problem, you can't be competing at the top level. Is Callum Wilson a fantastic footballer? He's a fantastic finisher. He's a great poacher. So cool under pressure. Never missed a penalty for Newcastle. 100% record like Alexander Isak. But with both of the players, they are injury sort of ridden. Alexander Isak a bit of the stronger side. But with Callum Wilson, he's missed 40% of Newcastle United games since joining the club. 40% out of injury. Yet again, unbelievable striker, so coolly. He's been phenomenal for Newcastle since he's come here. One of our top goal scorers in our history, which you wouldn't expect. I believe he is in the top 5. If not, he's definitely in the top 10. That was just off the top of my head from a Sky Sports statistic that I did see. But he's just not reliable. He's reliable in the sense when he plays, but with his injury record, he's not reliable whatsoever. And if we do need to make some leeway to sell some players in January, Callum Wilson's the first off. We do know he's in Dubai. He does go to Dubai for training sometimes. Is he going for a Dubai team? Look, I don't want to be harsh, but fingers crossed. We do need to look elsewhere for a striker, and there's one that brings to mind straight away. Some people have been saying he's going through a purple patch, but he's keeping the consistency going. Sirou Guirassy, the Guinean striker from Stuttgart in the Bundesliga, 12 starts this season, 17 goals and 12 starts. Let's just take a look. If that was in the Bundesliga for an Englishman, if he was coming to the Premier League, 17 goals and 12 starts, and he's also scored in the DFB Pokal as well. That's easily what? 50-60 million pounds in today's day market, especially if Newcastle want him. We know what teams are like for taking our sort of situation and our money for exploitation for them. Well, he's got a €17.5 million release clause. That is absolutely nothing in today's day and age. Chris Wood cost way more than that. What was Chris Wood? Is he £25 million? And this lad has scored 17 goals in the Bundesliga. He scored more in the DFB Pokal and the other competitions in 12 starts. We need to get him in. And with Callum Wilson, I reckon we could get a pretty decent fee for him if he's going somewhere abroad. Look, yet again, I don't want to keep saying it, but fantastic finisher. He's just not reliable anymore. He can't play 3 to 4 games with the games that we have played without getting injured. And the most annoying thing is, and I've said this before, it's not as if Callum Wilson, after the game, will get an injury update. Callum Wilson may be out for this, blah, blah, blah. He plays the 90 minutes, he comes off, and then 2 days later, we'll get a sort of update. Callum Wilson out for the next 3 games. It is becoming a bit of a mickey take, and it is getting pretty annoying as well. So you let me know, would you sell Callum Wilson? In my opinion, look, we're going to need to make funds. Fantastic finisher, unbelievable player, but he's just too inconsistent. We're thankful so much for what he's done for Newcastle United, but we'll have to be harsh in these times. I love him. I respect him ever more. Honestly, top player. Seems like a top professional as well. He's done so much for the club. He's been there through the dark times, and we will respect him ever more, but it's time to go, unfortunately. He is aging as well, which, for him, it's not that big of an issue, but it is still an issue for Newcastle. But there we have it. There is the end of the video. That's the first transfer news in January from Geordie Josh. I appreciate it if you've watched this video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. I put all the work in, getting all the transfer news, editing, uploading, thumbnail, the whole lot of it. So if you could repay me for just 2 seconds and hit that like button, I'd appreciate it so much. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily transfer news, match previews, match day vlogs, absolutely everything on Newcastle United. I'd appreciate it, lads. Go smash whatever you're doing. Go enjoy your day. I've been Geordie Josh. Go enjoy your day.